ahead. Thanks, Sanjeev, for taking your time to present and joining in to GWFM, so International WFM Summit. It gives us a great privilege and pride to have you and learn from your experiences, especially the new learning from last year in 2021. For benefit of audience, to introduce Sanjeev. Sanjeev has more than 3 decades of experience in the global organizations such as G and CTS. In fact, he has played a very key role, especially in GE. He was a CEO, and he played a global role of cognizant for talent supply chain management. In fact, here in IBM, has been playing a role of senior vice president for the GTS global. And Sanjeev comes with a passion for people, customer advocacy, and driving large-scale transformation programs with change management, expertise to lead large, diverse, and global teams, enable data-driven, actionable insights, and deploy Lean Six Sigma design thinking to create a culture of execution and excellence. And what is specialty, or what is that special things about Sanjeev is enabling profitable growth by aligning demands, supply for the global organizations, for the global WFM workforce management, and providing providing right skills at the right time, at the right cost, at the right location is something that has been enabling since last like 2 decades in premium organizations. In fact, Sanjeev shares his innovation journey, kind of work that he has done in Cognizant and also in GE and also now in IBM. There's a tremendous journey moving from IBM to Kyndryl. Has been a phenomenal journey on way, and a lot of transformation has been happening, and he's managing a very big team globally in IBM GTS. In fact, Sanjeev is known as one of the influencers as per the GWFM's research recently in 2020. In fact, along with the other top WFM leaders, Sanjeev is also known as one of the influencers in the global level, where along with the other WFM leaders. And let me share the screen out here. In fact, Sanjeev shares a lot of insights and the global trends of WFM. A lot to learn from him through his experience and his personality. With this, I take this pride and privilege to invite Sanjeev Jain, Global Head of WFM and Talent Transformation of GTS IBM. Thank you so much for taking your time, Sanjeev, for addressing the
WFM. My screen.
Yes, go ahead, Sanjeev.
So thanks, Dr. Shiva and Partho. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I wish everyone is staying safe, their families, their friends, everyone. I think that's the most important thing for the last few months for all of us. So let's prioritize that. And what I feel is, over the last 2 days, when I saw the agenda and I kind of hopped in and hopped out of some sessions, it's a reflection of what's happening in the current workforce, not just workforce management. People are working 15, 16 hours. People are working on the weekends and whatnot, right? With all sorts of technology. Someone is dialing in on phone, someone is dialing in on laptop, someone on iPad. So I think this is just a reality, guys. And it just 2 years back, Shiva, if I remember, 2019, I think we had the meeting in person in Bangalore. And at that time, you were constrained, I would say, because of the physical meeting, that we could only have so many hours in a day physically for people to sit, and not only hours in a day, 30 minutes per session was a long time, because then people would need a break or step out, and we need to socialize, we need to network. And for last year we did it remote, this year we are doing remote. So I think there's a huge difference, but I do miss the physical meeting, guys. I just hope that we get back to the physical life at the earliest. because digital is good, but I think it's still not good enough to, you know, feel each other and really have a live conversation. So with that, what I will do is, I remember this was a similar presentation I did exactly 27th of June 2020, Shiva. I just took that presentation, what I did last year. The slides are more or less the same with some addition. And the good thing is, whatever we discussed last year, there have been some changes, not significant, but I think we were pretty spot on when we spoke last year as to what are we seeing that things happening on the workforce management front. So I've kind of taken the liberty of using the last year's presentation to continue the flow of thought. And for the folks who attended last time, it might resonate and relate to it. For the ones not, I think it will be a good perspective. This will be in a very, I would say, a macro, simple language. No technology jargons, no fancy stuff here. It's purely a thinking and insights. Because I do believe, guys, so when it comes to workforce management, you call it whichever way, ultimately, if you go back to our industrial revolution and automobile, which is the foundation of manufacturing, end of the day, what we do is kind of a production planning and control and inventory control management, kind of a combination of those two. And I generally, whenever I am needing any inputs or insights, I get stuck. I reflect upon the automobile industry to see, what can I really learn from there and use it for the services companies that we are part of. So with that, I think this is just to recap, because the workforce management definition is different for different companies, different for different roles. I just wanted to make sure, at least from a baseline perspective, we kind of align on what is workforce management, overall. So to me, workforce management is, getting the right skills, right role, right place, right time, right cost, and I put specifically in this order. And one thing that has changed is over a period of time is, I would say, the sequence of these. And also I've added one more this year, the right role, which was not there last year, and I'll explain you why. So first of all, right skills, I have made it the first one, because end of the day now, it's everything about the skills. And I do feel that as workforce management in some of the organizations, we have skilling as a different function. In some, it is part of workforce management, whether it is separate or whether it is part of WFM. I think that's a key part of our role as workforce management. I think skilling is extremely, extremely integral to what we do in workforce management. And that's number one priority, with the changing dynamics, with the changing technology, with the changing requirements in the marketplace for us as a company. And I added right role, because one thing which I realized over a period of time is, while we get the basics right on what's the right place, right cost, right time, when I say right role, it is more from an employee perspective. I think we have always looked at from a demand perspective, but I think if you look from an employee perspective, from their career path perspective, what is the right role for them? Is this putting them on the right career path, right? Is this helping them to meet their career aspirations? And I know we generally leave that to either HR or to the respective functional managers, but I do feel that as we go along the journey, it's extremely important for us to start thinking as to, are we really helping put folks in the right role in the journey that they are with the organization. And the processes that we touch upon, you can see all listed here. The languages may differ, but I think we touch most of them. Again, in some organizations, the same function does most of it, in some parts of it. And in this, I think the point I wanted to make was, what is coming out a lot more, I would say, as a urgent need on a day-to-day basis, at least I am experiencing, is the middle two, right? When I say the middle two, it's the capacity planning, which means that today we are sitting in June. Are we able to tell what's the requirement in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months of the gaps that we have based on the demand in terms of the resource? And when we say resource, we are generally very good in terms of saying we may need 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, etc. But what's more important is the skill taxonomy, right? What skill do you need? What people? I think that to me is very, very critical, that I am seeing is coming as a coming as a requirement, because that only helps us make more proactive to plan. And the second is, as and when we have that skill uh, view, skill forecast, how can we really use adaptive learning and skilling to ensure that we have the requirements fulfilled, preferably internally by skilling our existing talent pool that we have. So these middle two is what I feel I've been spending a lot of time in the last few months, years rather, in the evolution of workforce management. And the extreme bottom horizontal that you see here on the Kaizen, simplification, transformation, agile, that's an ongoing thing. I think there is an increased need, again, because of the changing dynamics in the workplace, changing dynamics in the workforce, to really change the way we manage our processes. And I'm sure every organization is going through it. So we have actually got into our agile structures, squads, and really embraced agile as a transformation methodology for driving workforce management in our company. Now, when it comes to our workforce management function, I think before we look at what we do as WFM, it's very, very important to understand the business dynamics. When I say business dynamics, means work. What is the work that needs to be done? Not for workforce management, but for the company, right? For the delivery organization, for the sales organization, for the solutioning organization, for whichever functions, right? What is the work that needs to be done? Because the work is changing, first of all. Second is workforce, right? Who can do the work? The definition is changing of who can do the work. And then the workplace, where is the work to be done? I think we need to sit back in our company, in our roles, and really answer these three questions. So what is the work? What is the workforce? What is the workplace? Once we understand at a macro level what's happening in these three areas, then we can actually get into the framework for workforce management as to how do we have our processes aligned to enable the combination of workforce and workplace. And as we do that, other thing is, I think some companies do, some don't do, but I think it's best if from a workforce management team standpoint, we really align our goals to the business outcomes. Because a lot of times we have our internal functional goals, but if we can align those to the big whys of any company, which is again improving margins, improving revenues, operational excellence, it's all about things like utilization, pyramid, whatever, client satisfaction, and employee experience. Employee experience is a big one. I do feel, in my experience, we always focus a lot on the numbers part, which is the margin and the revenue. And we kind of also do a reasonably good job, everyone, on a client satisfaction. But on employee experience, I think we really need to step up and think what more we can do to improve or enhance the employee experience, because end of the day we are really enabling our talent, not just to meet the business goals, but talent has to meet their career aspirations as well. So with that, the framework, workforce, and workplace, what I will do is I'll just give you a few insights into each of these three, and then I would leave it to each individual to introspect and think through for their organizations, because there cannot be a generic answer. I think it has to be specific to every industry and every function or every geography, or wherever you are. So I think you have to internalize it to your own set. So in terms of work, to me, the four key trends that I see, is the work is going to be smart, right? And we all see that. It's all virtual, agile, work from home, etc., etc. I don't need to explain all this. Digital platforms are there. The smartphones have increased. Data is produced on everyday basis. The more and more, I think. So I think the way work happens is changing, right? Work is happening on phones. Work is happening on digital platforms. Work is happening from home. Work is happening virtually, remotely, right? That means different things to different folks. Work is getting innovative. When I say innovative, you can see a lot of incubators have come up. A lot of startups are innovating to really create new products, new solutions, new services, right? I saw Bhupesh playing his videos to show the way I think in fact, the customer contact is changing, right? And that's what you will see. The customers, they are shifting from calls to chats, A lot of them are going to self-service. So all this is also leading to unpredictable demand pattern, right? It's very difficult to forecast in this situation with greater accuracy. And what's happening is there's a lot of AI, data science, cognitive technologies are being used across. So I think the way work is done is also getting very, very innovative. And it's not just technology industry we're talking, this is across all the industries. Also, the work is getting simplified. When I say simplified, some of the work is getting automated, some of the work is getting eliminated, some of the work is getting transformed, right? You have blockchain, machine learning, connected devices, a lot of stuff is going on. And then there are enough reports to say that a lot of activities will get automated. However, it does not mean that, again, the same reports say that does not mean that automation will result in reduction of workforce. They're expecting that the skills required may be different for the workforce to do the new age jobs that come up. And then a lot of work is also getting global, global in the sense that they can happen anywhere. They are also, the work is being created because of the economic shift. They are happening because of jobs are changing, the job categories are changing. Some of the companies, some of the categories do not exist anymore. Some of the new categories come up. In fact, I find it very difficult sometimes to keep up with the new skills that are coming up. And I'm sure people who have grown up children, when you talk to your kids and their career, sometimes you feel that you just can't relate to what they want to do because they are much ahead and they are talking a language which some of us from our generation find it very difficult to understand. So I think that's a reality because there are new categories that are coming up for jobs. And work is, as it is global, there will be no time zones. It's volatile, it's very short term, and everywhere there are rate cuts because of the budgetary constraints. So I think this is just a total landscape of what's happening on the work front, right? This is what our business teams are dealing with, right? When you see our sales folks, when they are going to sell, this is exactly the reality I think they are living with. Now I switch to what does it mean for the workforce, right? Workforce is our employee base, the talent that we have, right? So workforce, if you look at it from their perspective, it's getting ageless. When I say it's getting ageless, I think it's no longer what's your age. It's more about what's your experience, what's your skill, right? What's your flexibility. No, I don't think people are asking anymore as to, hey, do you have this degree? And you would have seen some companies now saying they don't really need a degree as an entry point in a company. It's more of your experience and the skills. And there are assessments that are done by the companies. So it's ultimately, in some effect, it's an Uberization that's happening for the talent marketplace. And then you will also see, when I say ageless, there are different generations of workers coming together. There is a gig workforce coming together, right? There are, like, I've never seen this kind of increase in the freelancers or subcontractors or part-timers coming in the workforce, right? Which is good. I think we are getting a lot of untapped potential now. Plus, what has happened over a period of time is a lot of folks who have done well in their careers or who have different plans don't want to spend kind of the time we have spent in the last 2 days on the same subject. They want to really have a variety, so they would like to work a few hours at their time and their demand, and there are plenty of opportunities for that. So that's again changing the perspectives of the workforce. And then there is collaborative workforce, which means that there is, and I do see this, it's happening in some pockets, it will happen a lot more. There is a potential of sharing of skilled resources and inventory across the organizations. I know we speak about bench management, we speak about idle capacity, all that stuff. As the volumes are seasonal and no one wants to have idle capacity from a company standpoint, from an employee standpoint, I see that there are some companies who are starting to collaborate and see that if we can have resources shared, even if they are from a competing company, competing industry. This was just not possible a few years back, but I do see that there are opportunities and instances when there is a resource sharing happening across companies, all for the right reasons. There are digital workshops which people are engaging in. And this is employee engagement is very, very critical for collaborative workforce. And we somehow think from a workforce management perspective that employee engagement is for HR. But I think we need to really, when I talked about employee experience earlier, I think this is again a key part of where we should possibly be also thinking of how we can enable the employee engagement. It actually helps increasing in productivity very much. Then the workforce is getting mindful. When I say mindful, I think it's no longer all about work, work, work. It is about health, it's about family, it's about taking a break. It's about, also it means that we need a different quality of managerial talent. The managerial talent has to be able to lead through this uncertainty, lead through the change, be a lot more empathetic. And then sometimes what's happening is when you're expected to be always on with this remote and digital and work from home, this is increasing stress levels, and folks are, some of them are just not able to take it, and it's not advisable, it's not sustainable. And then intuitive workforce. Intuitive is all about the new generation. I think they are much more intuitive than the older generation, which is a lot more logical, structured. But I think the intuitive workforce is pretty quick in decision making. They're very digitally savvy. They need a lot more freedom. They need a lot more empowerment. They need flexibility. Half of our workforce across the industries are millennials, and they will decide the way of work going forward, right? And you can see the change in your workplaces and because of this. Reskilling is extremely, extremely critical. I spoke earlier that right skill is very important because the half-life of skills is reducing to 2.5 years. That means every 2.5 years, what you learn today will become irrelevant. So I think it's extremely important to keep pace with changing technology, learning, ongoing learning, continuous learning, and especially just in time and self-paced learning. And this has to be purely based on the individual career aspirations. And then finally, a skill which makes people comfortable handling complexity and uncertainty. This is pretty difficult. A lot of folks are used to having a job description, structured process, how to do stuff. But the moment you have complexity, which I'm sure all of us would have observed during the COVID times, how do you hire people in the company when you can't meet them face to face? How do you issue laptops? How do you get them set up without them in the office? How do you set up their payroll? So everything was remote, and I'm sure everyone figured out how to get it done. So I think these are the kind of things that we will have to continue to do over a period of time. Finally, coming to workplace. Workplace is about the office. Office does not mean physical office. Office is even work from home. Our workplace is all a place where all the employees possibly meet. So it's getting more emotional. There is a greater appreciation for the need for culture, for well-being, trust, right? Work-life balance. Many companies have started actually, reinforcing the employee assistance programs to address these loneliness, mental health, and safety issues. Health policies are being revamped. Employees' families are being supported a lot more. Physical workplaces, of course, we all know that life will be different. We can't expect everything to go back to what it was. While there will be physical workplace, I do see that there will be shared workplaces going forward. There will be some satellite offices, small offices, like a hoteling concept where employees will come and meet for a few hours and go back, preferably nearer to their residence or near to their place or city or wherever. There will be flexibility of location that we're already seeing it, and this helps expand your talent pools globally. The workplace will have to be more resilient, secure information security, all that needs to be baked in. And a lot of people have already developed processes to manage those. And technology is, of course, infiltrating in every workplace and home as well. Data overload, and we need a lot of digital maturity for folks to use the tools. AI is everywhere, and it is just changing the way we work. A lot of stuff which used to happen is now just automated, and it's changed for good, and it will change further as we go ahead. And lastly, but most importantly, it's going to be a purposeful workplace, right? All of us would have realized over the last few years that, what's the purpose? And that's an important question. which I think it will take years for everyone to find their own answers. But I think this is getting increasingly important for everyone. The organization structures don't have any more meaning. It has to be a network structure. I don't think anymore the boss, subordinate, or the manager, they're important, but I don't think they are that critical. It's more a relationship with how I can help you, how we can work together, etc., and not so much as to I need to do your performance appraisal and therefore you need to listen to me and I make decisions and you do as I say. I think those days are gone or going away for some companies if they have not gone. There has to be a shared sense of purpose between the company and the employees, and all of the employee engagement, inspiration has to be done virtually, which is going to be a very difficult task in my view, but I think it's going to be important, right? If you can't meet a person, can't see eye to eye in person, how can you really inspire and how can you really develop a relationship and how can you really collaborate and really make it work? I think this is extremely a new skill all of us will have to evolve over a period of time. So these are three dimensions of workplace, workforce. A lot of stuff I put together, but hopefully it gives you enough food for thought. But in my summary, if I have to summarize as to what does it mean in a nutshell for workforce management, right? I do think that we do a good job, but I think if we have to really move from good to really great, some of the stuff that at least personally I have been focused on is really how can we be more proactive. I think a lot of us are very good, very analytical, smart people in really telling stuff as to with a lot of reports what went wrong when. But I think we need to really get into some forward-looking views with some insights. We have been also very good in talking about forecast with the numbers of FTEs or the dollar forecast, but I think skill is still a long way to go. So skill is the new currency in the economy. And then we have been such a global organization, all of us, different locations, different time zones. We are by some of the structural design happen to work in silos. I think this will be an ongoing effort. How can we really, continue to collaborate, best practice sharing as one team, right? One community. And I think I know this forum has really done a wonderful job in the last few years to really get this community together beyond the organizational boundaries. And I think that's really terrific. Other thing I feel is we generally in our roles, we look at our immediate business function as our customer. So if you are supporting a delivery organization, we really focus on the delivery requirements, which is good. I'm not saying it's not good, but I think what makes us great is, can I really step up and look at my employee and my client as a customer? Maybe their requirements are different, or maybe I can meet their requirements in addition to meeting my delivery function requirements. I think that's a important thing to consider, because end of the day, that's employee and client are the ones who matter ultimately to the business. And then generally in all of our companies, we have strong processes, relationships, but I think over a period of time, we just need to have a focus on business outcome with agility. And the reason I put agility is there with the changing business dynamics, our old processes sometimes become very rigid. In fact, they prevent us from changing fast. So I think this agile structure will actually help us in being very much nimble and helping achieve the business outcome. And the last one is, of course, we have a lot of systems. Every company has it, 15, 20, 25 systems beyond the Excel sheets we all use. But how can we continue to relentlessly simplify, automate, and ultimately Uberize so these are a few thoughts. With that, Shiva, I will pause. And I know that you're the next session, but if you have any questions, I am happy to take. So that's pretty much I wanted to share as some insights on the WFM trends.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Truly very thought-provoking and kind of very strategic approach towards the WFM. And one thing that I liked about the role, because we have been looking at demand-based fulfillment most of the time, that we don't really look at it as a right role. This is something very important, and skill is the right currency, and this is a currency. Yeah, understand that. Very informative. Request the audience to raise your hand if you have any questions. Also, you can type in the chat box. Yeah, Sridhar, you have a question? I see that your hand here.
This time, I've not even raised my hand, Shiva. You can't do this to me.
Okay.
Seriously, man, just because I brought in a different perspective, you're like saying, speak up.
Sridhar, I think the message to you is don't ask questions. I think that's what Shiva is trying to tell. When you
yaar,
ask
wo
a
mere
question, he's
ko bol raha
expecting
hai,
you
"Chुp
to
raho."
ask a question in every session.
Yeah, he's telling me, shut up, don't mess around. You're messing up.
I see the end there. That's fine. Okay. And there's one question here, Sanjeev. In the IT industry, what is the future of WFM? You know, kind of 10 years down the line, what do you see that organization should do, or the function should do, or like what is the right strategy that should be adopted to be on the top to service the customers and also retain the skilled talent who are required for now and also in future? What do you advise on this?
Yeah, so I think one is, of course, what I spoke earlier about the understand what workplace and workforce. But I think typically in an IT industry, if the workforce management team is, uh, or rather, I would say, workforce management team should look at the pipeline a lot more closely. They should really work with the sales teams. In my experience, the workforce management teams tend to work with where we have the large workforce, which is the delivery organizations, which is important, but I think we tend to overlook the future, from a pipeline perspective. When you look at the pipeline, and when I say pipeline, not necessarily from what's the volume of business, it is in addition to what are the skills that the clients are asking. And the more I think we can engage upfront and look at what could be the skills that are being asked for in the industry, and what are the skills that are not being asked for in the industry. I think it's extremely important for us to rebalance the workforce. In IT industry, generally you would have observed, you will have a large employee base. When you have a large employee base, these are all your knowledge workers, right? These are people who need to be reskilled, upskilled. It's not like you can, do that overnight. So I think it's very important for us to know what we call is a gap glut analysis of skills. So which are the skills where you have access? They need to actually get into the your learning academy to get trained into their adjacent skills for the future demand. I think that to me is the most critical part of the workforce management function as we go ahead. For us, typically in workforce management, we look at how can I match the demand supply immediately, that is through the bench, or I go and hire externally. When I go and hire externally, I can hire a lateral or I can hire a subcontractor, right? That's the easiest path for us. But the most difficult part for us is how can I match internally the adjacent skills and try to train someone so that they're ready in the next 2, 3, 4 months. Now, if you have to make someone ready in the next 2, 3, 4 months, you need to know what is the demand coming in the next 2, 3, 4 months. Therefore, I would say be a lot more aligned with your front end teams to know what is the pipeline and the skills that are coming in.
I don't see any more questions. There's, I think, this itself is. There's one person who's asking, can you have the presentation? Is it available?
So Shiva, what I'll do is I'll send you, and then I would suggest you, rather than sharing the entire presentation, you can take out some notes and make a summary and distribute. Yeah, I will send it to you. Yeah.
Thanks, Sanjeev, for your
Thanks, guys.
valuable
Good luck. Thank
you
you.
have spent. And it's been a great, enriching presentation, and also like great learning, for me and also the rest of the audience who are present here.